Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto suchedoye olahudi sanmyao sanputoshe. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jue nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Shifu Shangren, Gui Shishung Daja, Aumi Tuofo, Venerable Master Dharma friends, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Heng Shi. I'm here to join with all of you in investigating the Flower Garland Sutra, Da Fang Guang Po Huayan Jing. Today is Sunday, March 31st here in Queensland, Saturday, March 30th in the United States. Wherever you might be listening around the world, check your date. We are looking into the 10 stages chapter. The Chinese call it the Shidi Pin, the 10 grounds. And this is the Bodhisattva path, instructions for how one learns to walk the Bodhisattva path. And we're in the top of the text. We're at the 10th stage, the stage of the Dharma cloud, the cloud of Dharma. On my desktop, those of you who are looking on YouTube can possibly see I've got a special rare image on my desktop. I don't know if that's visible to the folks here listening live in Gold Coast, but I've got a picture that was taken in 1987, which is the Water, Land, and Air,水陸法會, at the City of 10,000 Buddhas. And there were over 100 men and women, monks and nuns, and laity invited from China to attend. And this is a picture taken after lunch on the last day. And you can see all of the Da De Gao Seng, the noble monks. There are teachers in the middle, and he's surrounded by Master Mingyang and Master Zhen Chan and Master Fo Yuan and Meng Can Lao Fa Shi is there. And even more interesting for the historians of Buddhism in China, the second, third, and fourth row include all of the young monks then in 1987 who are now in positions of authority and power. The current crop of Da De Gao Seng at the time were Xiao He Shang, the young monks back then who accompanied their seniors to serve as the Wainos, the cantors, the runners, the gophers, and they have now become the current Da De, greatly virtuous monks. So this is a historical photo, and it's our inspiration. I thought, should I put that on my computer desktop? Is that respectful? And I thought, yeah, it's really respectful when you look at these monks and you think, these are in terms of the Chinese monks, these are the monks who survived Cultural Revolution, for one. And you can also see the respect and the excitement and the admiration and the joy of the youngers for their elders. I showed this picture my last visit to China, and the monks at the forum who looked at this went, "Oh, look, all the old bodhisattvas are here." There they are. Those are the real bodhisattvas, legendary monks of the last century, 20th century monks, who made it through and who continued to turn the Dharma wheel into teachers. So I thought, yeah, go ahead, show that picture. All right, we have had the Dharma Request by Cliff today, and he and Sam together are translating lecture for our Dharma friends who want to listen in Chinese, many in China, many in Taiwan, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, and around the world, who want to hear the sutra in Chinese. And also we have Cherry and Locke and the bhikshus of the Berkeley Buddhist Monastery coming together to bring the sutra to those of us who are investigating in English via the magic of the internet with Zoom and YouTube and all the different bits of code that have to come together and line up. All our ducks have to be in line before the sutra can happen. So I want to express my gratitude for all the people whose efforts go into making this lecture happen. Just before I came over this afternoon, I was standing on my deck and everything was packed up, all of the microphones and all of the robes and the special modems and everything that have to be available before we can make this lecture happen. And I was thinking, what am I going to discover? My thought, what am I going to find today when I open the sutra? Every week as we do this, for me it's a little bit like I guess an analogy would be when I've done mountain climbing. I've never really climbed mountains with ropes and pitons like that, but I do mountain walking, and I've been up my share of mountains in over the years, both in the Green Mountains in Vermont, the White Mountains in New Hampshire, the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, the Sierras in California, mountains in the Laurentian Shield in Quebec, not so much, some in Taiwan, but that's pretty much it, mostly in America. And I love walking in the mountains because it's your own effort, your own steps that carries you up the trail, up the track, to whatever height you achieve. However many steps you take, that's how far you go. That's how far you can see. And looking into the sutra for me, I'm going to sneeze here, excuse me. I'm going to sneeze on camera. However many steps you take, that's how far you get. It's a very analog process. There's nothing virtual about it. Wherever you stop, that's how far you get. And lecturing on the sutra is the same way. We've got some crows making commentary here today. As you walk up the trail on the mountain, the scenery changes with every step. You come around the corner and there's a blue sky vista. And you go over the ridge and there's fog coming down. And you go over the ridge and into the valley at altitude, the high valley, and there's a scent of pine. And you get up past the tree line, and everything is stunted. Nothing grows over your waist high. And at a certain point, you can see the peak ahead of you, So every step changes the vista. And I was thinking, explaining the sutra is a lot like that. Week after week, it's the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas' wisdom reveals another dimension. But the travel that you do is all internal. It's the mind, right, that we're looking at. And the sutra reflects the mind. It's like the sutra is the map, and the mind is the territory that the map describes. And so I was wondering today, what are we going to see as we look into our text? We'll find out. Let's do it. Let's look into the text. Here we go. Here we are. Last week we looked at sustaining, and this week we're looking at a whole other set of 10. It's right here. If you can see on the screen, it's 又如实知诸佛如来入微悉智, that one. Okay? We'll read the paragraph in Mandarin first. Here we go. 又如实之，诸佛如来入为喜智。所谓修行为喜智，命中为喜智，受生为喜智，出家为喜智，现神通为喜智，成正觉为喜智，转法轮为喜智，助寿命为喜智，博涅盘为喜智，教法助为喜智，如实等皆如实之。Good, got it. With a crow chorus in the background. Okay, here's the English. Ready? Further, he knows as they truly are all Buddhas, Tathagatas, mastery of fine and subtle wisdoms, namely, fine and subtle wisdom concerning cultivation, fine and subtle wisdom concerning the end of life, fine and subtle wisdom concerning rebirth, fine and subtle wisdom concerning leaving the householder's life, fine and subtle wisdom concerning displaying psychic powers, fine and subtle wisdom concerning realizing right awakening, fine and subtle wisdom concerning turning the wheel of Dharma, fine and subtle wisdom concerning abiding through lifespans, fine and subtle wisdom concerning parinirvana, and fine and subtle wisdom concerning the survival of the teachings. He knows all such things as they really are. All right? The first line is usually the clue to the whole series, and I should say at the outset that my Dharma senior, my Dharma brother Heng Shou Fasher, the translator known as Kalavinka, has a different take on this series, especially the keyword zhi here. He, and I think he might be right. I mean, I think I'll just say that there's another way to approach this that may be closer to it than what I have here. That word zhi, I translate it as wisdom. He translates as knowledge. Knowledge. Now, Sanskrit for zhi, wisdom, would probably be prajna. Sanskrit for knowledge is jnana. Jnana. And they're different aspects of an accomplished mind. Prajna wisdom, you realize it, and the instant before you realize it, you don't have it. Prajna wisdom doesn't accumulate. It's a transformation. So that's prajna paramita. When we explain the Vajra Sutra, we're explaining prajna paramita wisdom, that the bodhisattva, at a certain point, he goes, where does it happen? It's number 6 after number 5. What is number 5? Dhyana paramita. What does that mean? Meditation. And when your meditation gets to the place of transformation, of perfection, of paramita, of Dao Bi'an, when you get there, you change your way of knowing. And prajna paramita, that wisdom, occurs. Jnana, on the other hand, as I understand it, can grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. Even if you have a little, it's still the knowledge, transcendent knowledge. And the jnana, the zhi, is something that you accumulate. Prajna paramita is something that you experience. And once it's turned, it's turned. So if you think of it, I've described it this way before. Jnana is in the mind, can accumulate the way you learn, for example, a language. If you decide you're going to learn Spanish, and I recommend it, it's a good thing to know. So many Spanish speakers, for example, in California, not so much in Australia, not that many Spanish speakers here. A few, right? Our Dharma buddy Esteban and his family. But in California, you know, Hispanic surnames are the majority now, more than 50%. of California has a Hispanic surname and may not speak Spanish because they grew up in California, but they might. Certainly mom does, definitely dad does. So, good thing to learn. You learn a few verbs. You learn to order food in a restaurant. You learn the difference between quesadillas and tacos and burritos and frijoles and tortillas. Then you learn some songs. Then you learn maybe some authors. You try to read Garcia Lorca in Spanish. Bit by bit, your knowledge of Spanish, you talk to your Spanish friends, Spanish-speaking friends, Hispanic friends. And pretty soon, your Spanish is good. You know, you can converse. And that's the way language is learned. I think jnana accumulates that way. Prajna, they say, instead of getting bit by bit and analyzing, cutting into pieces, you integrate to get to prajna. All the pieces come together. It's a different kind of knowing. And the description of prajna is like a mirror. As I think I've said this before here. How does the mirror go? There's a phrase in Chinese, 是来在静, 是必在静, right? 是来在应, 是必在静, right? When something comes in front of a mirror, it's reflected perfectly, absolutely perfect. Maybe reversed, but perfect. Nothing distorted, nothing missing, okay? When that thing disappears from in front of the mirror itself is perfectly still, okay? Prajna wisdom works that way. You don't think, you don't accumulate, you reflect, because all the pieces are intact. And when there's nothing going on, the mind is calm and clear, like a pond without goldfish. We have a new lotus pond, and we got some new goldfish, and inevitably, the transition is hard on these little organisms, right? So I go over after lunch every day, and I'm looking in the water. Oh, I sure hope there's some goldfish. And Alex goes over in the morning, and he says, no, we saw 11. No, we saw 9. They're all there. They're just hiding from you at noon. They don't, they're hiding. I won't take it personally, right? So my wisdom mirror doesn't see any goldfish. And that's good. That's good. They're just hiding. They're successfully hiding. Who are they hiding from? Kingfishers, kookaburras, ducks, that would eat them otherwise. So, okay. So, Kalavinka translates our word as jnana, and probably he's right. So, these are, what is it? Furthermore, our bodhisattva here in the 10th stage knows, as they truly are, all the Buddha's, Tathagata's mastery of what is called Wei Shi Zhi. I translated it as plurals, wisdoms, plural. Then we get a list of 10. Okay. So, last week we said, here in the 10th stage, our bodhisattva is kind of like a airline pilot, an airplane pilot who's sitting in front of his Boeing 777 Stretch. He's sitting in front of his Airbus. What's the number? I don't even know what the Airbus numbers are at this point. But, it's a major passenger airline, or it could be a freight airliner. And he's got, if you've ever done that, anybody here? My Dharma brother Hung Lai is a great one for flight simulators, right? Flight simulators are some of the most interesting games back in the days of 286s and 386, Microsoft, Intel run PC computers. If you had the right joystick, you could put in a flight simulator and dial up where you wanted to go. You wanted to land at Chicago O'Hare. You wanted to land in Sydney International Airport. And the software would show you taking off from Detroit Metro or New York LaGuardia and then landing in Sydney. And you could fly all the way, and it was great, and it was very impressive. So Hung Lai was a master of flight simulation. And I remember looking over his shoulder as he sat in front of the computer and looking at the controls, and oh my goodness, the pilot is like, okay, give it more thrust, right, thrust on the left, engine 2, okay. And so you have to dial this and click this and snap that, right? A bodhisattva enabled, empowered with all of this jnana, all of this wisdom, all of this knowledge, is the same way. He's not flying an airplane. He's taking living beings across. He is piloting the Mahayana, the great vehicle, which has room for you. Your seat is there in the great vehicle, in that jetliner, taking you all the way to the tip of Nirvana Mountain. So if there's a landing strip, we're mixing our metaphors all over the place here today. Keep me straight here. Stop me before I metaphor again, right? So we're flying an airplane to the top of Nirvana Mountain. Hope there's an airstrip long enough to land, big enough to land a jetliner. So the great vehicle. So that, the pilot has to have knowledge of all these different systems so he or she can ferry living beings safely across. So, it's like that. We got 10 of these, 10 of these, 10 of these. We counted before we jumped into this passage of text 7 systems of 10. In fact, in 2 more to go, we're going into mastery of kalpas, of eons. There's 16 for some reason. Usually it's 10, but there's 10 plus coming up. So here's our pilot bodhisattva who is operating all these systems. So he knows as they are. Buddha Tathagata's mastery of fine and subtle wisdom. Those are currawongs singing in the background. Something must be up here in the bush. So the fine and subtle wisdom list of 10, what do we know? It's mastery of something that Buddhas already have. The bodhisattva now on the 10th stage joins them. He or she has got that same ability now. And our list of 10, interesting, I've made a list. I took it out of the sutra text and put it into here we go, put it into my word processor, and, not that, it's not what I want. We'll save that one. We'll go to this one. Here we are. What do we have? We've got a list of 10. Cultivation, the end of life, rebirth, leaving the householder's life, realizing right awakening, turning the wheel of Dharma, abiding through lifespans, and parinirvana, and then the survival of the teachings. He knows all things like this, as they really are. Okay, what is this list? As I looked at this, I thought, I've seen something like this before. What is it? This reminds me of what is called八相成道. So what is the八相成道? This is the 8 hallmarks of leaving home. I'm sorry, said it wrong. Try again, scratch. The 8 hallmarks of realizing the way. When you cheng dao, when you realize the way, everybody does it in a similar pattern, which is what? The ba xiang cheng dao are milestones in a Buddha's life as they are in the process of becoming a Buddha. Now, that ba xiang, that list of 8 hallmarks I've seen them different in different sutras, but by and large they are the same. What is missing in this set of 8 if we saw two on this side and then another one that's missing, we would know, oh, that's exactly what this is. That's why I say this is reminiscent of the Ba Xiang Cheng Dao. It's not the same. What are they? The ones that are missing are Ru Tai and Chu Tai, entering the womb and leaving the womb. Usually the 8 include the Buddha's birth, in other words. So coming out of Tushita heaven, where Buddhas wait and prepare to become a Buddha, that one is not there. Usually it's living in Tushita heaven, entering Lady Maya, his mother's womb, leaving the womb, and then we pick up. Chujia, end of life is usually not there. These two, end of life and rebirth, but you might call that rebirth, might be Chutai. Then the others appear. One is missing, Xiangmo, subduing the demons, is not here. Usually that one is there. But all the rest are similar. Survival of the teachings is often distributing sharira after nirvana. So this is, what is it? It's a biography of a Buddha with the milestones intact. This is what happens when somebody is in their last life before becoming a Buddha. This is your last incarnation before you become a Buddha. This one picks up with cultivation, shouxing. In other words, what has happened? Somebody decides to go deeper. Somebody says to themselves, is this all there is? Is this it? Have I really done it? You know, what did I do in my lifetime? Well, a lot of stuff, a lot of joy, a lot of boredom, a lot of confusion, a lot of accomplishment in the world, made money, got power, got recognition, had family, you know, have relationships that are, some are frustrating, others are entirely fulfilling. I feel like I was able to give in my life a lot. And with all of that experience behind me, I want to go deeper. I want to answer that question, is this all there is? Right? How many restaurants can you go to with the thought, let's try something a little different this time, right? A little different. There's a new Italian place. It's a little different. I've heard it's really good, you know. You go and sure enough it is. It's a little different. This Italian place is from, you know, Sicily. It's not from the north. It's not from Milan up there where it's close to Germany, close to Switzerland. Not that kind. This is in the south. This is really, you know, it's a little spicier. But you know what? As they say, 大同小异, pretty much the same. And once it passes your tongue, your taste buds, it's a lot the same, you know. It becomes fuel for your body. Okay, how many times can you do that before you go, is this all there is? Just a little different, right? And different kind of wine. We're doing Shiraz grapes. We're not doing, you know, Merlot this time. Oh, we're doing, you know, Beaujolais this time. It's wine. Can you do without it? Yeah. I haven't tasted wine in a long time, you know, and I'm doing okay. So, not knocking wine. Nothing wrong with wine if that's the water of life, right? Most people, my friends of Europe, started drinking wine before they ever drank coffee, you know. You're right. So, yeah. And, okay, but is this all there is? You ask yourself that question. And if your answer is no, I see people who have something different, genuinely different in their experience, and it comes from the way they use their lifetime. How many breaths do we have in a day? There's a question. Anybody got a keyboard? You can look it up. Jin Chuan, Jin He, Jin Wei Shi. You can check out Google. How many breaths in a lifetime? Well, you just say, how old are you? You're right. A 5-year-old girl is going to breathe a different number of times than an 80-year-old man. All right. How many breaths in a day? How many days in a lifetime? How many breaths in a lifetime? What are you going to do with the breaths that goes in? That go in and come out? What are we going to do with that lifetime? On the average, see, I told you, hubba hubba. A person at rest takes 16 breaths per minute. That means we breathe 960 breaths an hour, 23,040 breaths a day, 8,409,600 a year, unless we get a lot of exercise. The person who lives to 80 will take 672,768,000 breaths in a lifetime, 6.7 million breaths. Okay, thank you very much. Omi tofu. What would we do without Google, right? So, 6.7 million breaths. So, that's a total. What are we going to do with the breath that comes in? That's the question. And the answer is, it's really up to us, right? Where is free will? Well, how are you going to use the breath? Depending on how long we live, right? So if the answer to that question is, I want to go deeper, I want to get past the surface of life, what is the surface of life? Pursuing pleasure, avoiding pain. Most of us. Is there anything wrong with that? No, it's not a judgment. It's just, is that enough for you? Is that enough for me? The end is certain, which is what? We're going to move on. We're going to leave this body, move on to another one. Show me somebody who didn't die, right? Who was able to hang on to their body. Don't show me. I don't want to see somebody who held on to their body even a year after they died. We recycle, right? This is a very organic item, and the earth, air, and fire and water will recycle. It doesn't stick around. It doesn't stick past a shower. Take a shower and so many scales, cells wash down the drain. It's a very organic thing. We're moving. We are a work in progress. Every breath has no guarantee that it will be followed by the next breath. So cultivation, fine and subtle wisdom regarding cultivation, shows the resolve of someone who said, I want to figure things out. Can I get fine and subtle wisdom regarding this thing called being alive? Well, cultivation is our jargon term, meaning spiritual endeavor. You're going to look, you're going to listen, you're going to investigate. The word that we heard that around Master Hua a lot, he would say, look into it. 参你的话头. Look into your word head. Look into your meditation topic. 行住坐卧不离这个. Walking, standing, sitting, reclining. Don't leave that for an instant. Look into it. See what you can find out. The Buddha is simply a human who did that and got an answer. Because the end of life is certain. We will move on. And from the Buddha's point of view, not only the Buddha, from the point of view of the Hebrew scriptures, we will be reborn. Right? This idea of rebirth is not only a Buddhist or a Hindu notion. Where will we be reborn? Well, what about heaven? At the right hand of God. What about hell? From someone who is a sinner. That's built right in there to the theology of the Bible. So, interesting. Okay, so those are the first three. Let's now move on. Suppose we have someone who said, indeed, I look deeply. Here, I'll give you an example. We're in the process of writing the biography of our teacher, Master Shramanerika, our founder. His story from his early years in Manchuria is known. His story in Hong Kong, the decade he lived in Hong Kong, is known and written and recorded and thoroughly well done. His 30 years from 1962 to 1995, and then the impact of his life is a work in progress. We're still compiling that. It's a big job because those 30 years, his life touched so many people. When he was a young boy in Manchuria, living in a farming community, he saw a dead baby by the side of the road. And before that sounds shocking and it must have been very poor, no, it wasn't that, there were bodies littering the ground. It wasn't. It was that what? When you live on the farm, no matter where it is on the planet, the processes of life and death, rebirth, are in front of your eyes all the time. You find out that, there's a new calf being born in the barn. So what's involved as the big mother cow gives birth to a baby calf? Well, it's a very organic deal. And sometimes there are problems, and the people have to go lend a hand, right? So the magic, the wonder, the terror, the very organic is the word, the very natural process of giving birth is right there before your eyes, right? Likewise, the end of life is often before your eyes. Suppose you've got chickens and somebody wants a chicken dinner. Somebody has to deliver a dead chicken to the kitchen, right? You got to go kill the chicken, wring its neck, cut its head off, whatever people do to deliver that chicken to the kitchen so you can have fried chicken at night. That's, somebody's going to die right there. So my point is that Master Hua was a young man and saw a dead baby, and it was wrapped in a bamboo mat, and the child may have died of a childhood disease, and who knows the story, but he asked his uncle right away, "What's this?" And his uncle had a good uncle. Sneeze again here. The uncle explained to his nephew, our future teacher, said, "This is called death. Somebody died." And so, just as in the biography of the prince Siddhartha, who became Shakyamuni Buddha, something was triggered, something was keyed as soon as he saw this reality called impermanence, transitoriness, right, moving on. And the young boy, young Master Bai, said, "Oh, who dies?" Well, everyone dies. Is there anyone who doesn't die? Because he connected that this sad, tragic little corpse was a baby. And the uncle said, "Sure, if you want to cultivate the way, you can do what the Buddha did and put an end to the countless cycles of birth and death called samsara, shengsi, right?" So right away, young Mr. Bai said, "I want to do that. Can I do it? Can I leave home and cultivate the way?" And his mother, Madam Bai, said, "No, not now, later. Wait till I go. You're my youngest. I want you to take care of me in my final years." So, as a filial son, Master Hua said, "Okay, Mom, but I'm going to hold you to your promise. I want to leave home later." So that was kind of the unspoken deal, bargain that they made at that time. And sure enough, our teacher's mom passed away when he was 19, or was it 16, which is 3 years. And the family took her, the funeral procession went out to the burial ground, which I have seen. I visited there, that cemetery in Manchuria. And after the formal interment, the funeral ceremony was done, the family went home. The young boy said, "I'm going to stay by Mom's grave." And they said, "You're crazy. Come on home to dinner. We'll make some hot drinks and have dinner." He said, "No, I'm staying." And they said, "You're crazy. Come on. Don't mess around. Come on back with us. We don't want to worry about you up here." And he said, "I'm staying." So they rolled their eyes. They knew it was no use arguing. He was stubborn. So Master Hua built a hut, a lean-to by his mother's grave, and did what is called 陆木修孝. He observed filial respect by his mother's grave for 3 years, during which he left the householder's life. He left home. He went to a local temple called Sanyuan Si, Three Conditions Temple, and became a Buddhist, took refuge, then had his head shaved, and left home as a monk. So here is our Bodhisattva's Wei Shi Zhi, fine and subtle wisdom or knowledge regarding leaving home. And I would maintain that all Buddhas do the same thing at some point. They follow this pattern. They experience some trigger that shows them that there indeed is more than meets the eye in human life. That what we see around us, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, neighbors, distant relatives, strangers, enemies, issues, joys and sorrows, success and failure, all of the realities of life are very much like scenes in a play. And what you see on the stage in the play is not the whole story, right? It's an act. There's actually somebody who wrote the play. You're one of the audience members watching it on the stage, and it's acted well or not so well. You enter into the story, but the curtain falls in the end, and the people get off the stage, and they're just actors with paint on their face, playing a role. There is something behind the illusion of the stage, right? I'm mixing my metaphors. Give me some room to do that. Who's writing the script? That's the question that occurs to the person who says, "I'm determined to find out." What's our bellwether? What's our industry standard for breaking the illusion of the play? Is Wizard of Oz, right? Everybody knows, seen the Wizard of Oz? Dorothy and the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Lion and Toto the dog have been out, and they've killed the witch, the wicked witch. All of the flying monkeys have become their Dharma protectors because the witch wasn't such a nice boss anyway. And so they come back to Oz, and they're waiting for their rewards, which were promised to them by the wizard when he was the great and powerful Oz, right? And so he's waffling. He's not going to deliver Dorothy back to Kansas the way he promised. And Toto, the dog, goes over and tugs on the curtain, pulls the curtain back, and here's this old guy with white hair and a mustache and a beard moving the levers. "I am the great and powerful," pay no attention to the guy behind the curtain, because now he's exposed. oh, in fact, the great and powerful Oz was an illusion. That was just le son et la lumière. That was the sound and the light of the stagecraft. In fact, he's just an old guy who's good at manipulating images, right? So with that awareness, you realize everything that I've been going through is a lot like the illusion done by the Wizard of Oz. However, what the Buddha tells us is, indeed, we are the wizards. And we are Dorothy and Toto and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion and the Scarecrow. We're the audience too. We are the playwrights. We are the actors. The whole play, the playhouse itself, is a production of our reaction to karma. Deeds and their reactions, actions and reactions. And if we live skillfully in the midst of all those breaths, 6.72 million breaths in a lifetime, then when it comes time to pull the curtain aside, we have some gong fu. We are able to make some choices at that point. It is not only the wind of karma that blows us into the next act of the play, or the next play entirely. We have something to say about it. So that contributes to the
Dharma Master, you're muted still, Amitovo.
There we go. Thank you. Yeah, that popped me out of Zoom all of a sudden. But we got back safely, thank you. Okay, what is it like to leave the home life, to leave the householder's life? I have a text that I really, really like. I found it in, here are the notes. There, we're in the right place. I found it in, where was this? It might have been in the Chanman Ersung, the breviary for the Chan school. But it's called, it's from the Agamas, from the Han Jing, which is a Theravada text often considered, but the Mahayana benefits from it a lot. And it goes like this: 舍离恩爱，出家修道，摄御诸根，不染外欲，慈心一切，无所伤害，娱乐不心，风苦不欺，能忍如地，故号沙门。 Now this is a Chinese translation of what was a Pali text, and maybe we should find this. Sam, we can go look for it in the Agamas someday, right? We'll look after the lecture is over. We'll go see if we can find this. But here's the English translation, and the pronoun I've got she or he. You can change the pronoun as suits your case. It's gender neutral. It's the Shramana. First of all, let's get the title. Shaman, Guhao Shaman. What is a Shramana? A Shramana is someone who went to the ashram for retreat, for refuge. An ashram is a place for still and tranquil retreat, right? So a Shramana is one who has done what? Looked at the world and said, hey, I don't want to just stand out here in the seats, sit out here in the seats and watch the play on the stage. I'm determined to get behind the curtain and understand the mechanism of the theater itself. There is more. There is more to life than simply watching the play go by, right? That's someone who is on the road to the ashram. So a Shramana has taken refuge in the ashram. And what do? He or she must set aside caring and love,捨離恩愛. What does it mean? It doesn't mean destroy it. It doesn't mean attack it. It doesn't mean judge it and say there's something wrong with caring and love. Caring and love is what brought all of us, each one of us, into the world. Nothing wrong with that. But you set it aside for the time period that you are investigating reality. You set it aside to leave home and cultivate the way. Every action of every episode of leaving home successfully means someone has done this. They have put a hold on the process of bonding out of love with another being, with another individual, for the purpose of leaving home to cultivate the way, right? There's no judgment, there's no, disrespecting of caring and love. I think that's a hard-earned realization. I remember one young monk left home, the city of 10,000 Buddhas, and he was very sincere, very vigorous in his willingness to endure what is called bitterness, 吃苦, right? Willing to endure the bitterness of leaving home. His family came to visit him. His parents and his siblings came to visit him, and he refused to see them. He came all the way from Taiwan to see. He refused to see them. He pretended like they didn't exist. I'm cultivating. You don't exist to me. You are dead to me. And I pulled him aside and said, don't be an idiot. By doing this, you're actually setting your path back. Spread some fertilizer on your human roots. Be kind to them that brought you here, Dance with the ones who brought you here, To think that, your teacher, who is your teacher? Master Shramanerika. What did he do with his family? He sat by his mother's grave for 3 years. You can't even say hello and be cordial to your parents who put out the money and the effort to come and see you here in America as a monk. Wake up. Don't think that there's any advantage to being cruel, being insensitive, and non-responsive to your family. That, you think your meditation is going to be better for turning a cold shoulder to your family? Not a bit. Well, guess what? He didn't listen. He turned his back and walked away. And he left it to me to talk to his family. You have to understand, he's a new monk. He's trying hard to, forgive him his lack of compassion. And I'll talk, so I got to know his family, nice people, and they were there to support him, and he wouldn't let them. Well, that monk is within our organization is kind of famous for being a hermit. I don't know, years have passed now. Maybe he actually talks to his family. I hope so. But anyway, you leave them, you set aside caring and love. You don't cut off caring and love. To leave home and cultivate the way. The Buddha himself brought his son into the Sangha, brought his wife into the Sangha, brought his father into the Buddha's compassion. He was his father's pallbearer after his father died. Okay, he subdues his senses untouched by desires. Look at this. 摄御诸根，不染外欲. 摄御 means you gather them back. 摄六根，精信相续. That's in the Agama Sutra, when the Buddha tells Manjushri to find among 25 sages what's the best way to cultivate. Well, Dashizhi Pusa, Great Strength Bodhisattva, says, 度摄六根，精念相续，入萨摩地，是为第一. He says, gather back your senses. Let your pure thoughts continue. Then you enter samadhi. This is the best way, says Great Strength Bodhisattva. 摄御诸根, you don't cut them off. You don't harm them. You don't numb them. You don't become a robot, a imitation robot, right? You bring them back. 不染外欲, so that the desires of the world, the 外欲, the external desires of the world, touch your senses, but they don't stick. You subdue them so that they find their own home inside where they arise. That requires what? Gongfu. That requires gongfu. My best example, a story I've told before, was after 18 years of straight-ahead cultivation for me, including 6 years of complete, total silence, I went back to school to get my doctorate at UC Berkeley's campus at the seminary called Graduate Theological Union, right across the street on the north side of campus, across Hearst Avenue. And my goodness, I had to walk through Sproul Plaza every day to get to class. And Sproul Plaza at UC Berkeley, you should know, is a circus. It is a circus par excellence. There are the conga drummers. There's 10 conga drums lined up. These guys who smoke whatever they're smoking and then start to and Sproul Plaza rocks to the sound of the congas. You know, and it replaces your heartbeat after a while if you're out there, you know. And then, what else? There is what's called tabling on Sproul Plaza every day. And tabling is part of the student activities committee. Student activities, if you have a club at UC Berkeley, you have to register for the social student activities. And that's where we discovered there are how many student Christian groups? 50 Chinese student Christian groups, never mind the non-Chinese groups. There are 50 groups that are Chinese students for Jesus. The Taiwanese Christian Students Union, the Hong Kong Fellowship for Christ, the Singaporean Christian Students Union. Oh my goodness, 50 Chinese Christian clubs. Never mind all the others. All right. So you register with, we had what? The ABC, the CBS, Cal Buddhist Society. We were registered as the Cal Buddhist Society, CBS. So, okay, I was the advisor. So you register with student activities, you put a table on Sproul Plaza. On the table are your bumper stickers and your flyers and your things you give away, the tchotchkes and the key rings and stuff. And there are tables on all sides. At high noon, to walk through Sproul Plaza, you have to turn sideways to get through the crowds, right? So here's a celibate Buddhist monk, with not very stable samadhi, trying to get across Sproul Plaza to the other side. Never mind the preachers, the angry preachers, the people who are the carts, they're selling stuff, the political rallies going on. The pep club of the band sends out their trombonists and their trumpeters and the cheerleaders and the dancing, So I'm trying to walk across Sproul Plaza to get to North Side. And how do you subdue your senses and be untouched by desire? The answer is Great Compassion mantra, Tabe Jo. So I had my beads, and I would walk across campus reciting the Great Compassion mantra, timed to my footsteps. Namo hula danno dola ye ye namo oli ye polu jedi shabola ye puti sa topo ho moha sa topo ho. Like that. And I would walk and recite with my beads in my hand. And I gave my eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind to the sounds of the mantra and to my feet and my breathing. And it took me about 12 mantras to get across campus if I went slowly. And I kept a little safety pin on my beads, so however many I recited, I would move the safety pin ahead. And my story that some of you have heard before is, I remember I got to Hearst Avenue and Euclid, Hearst, the corner of Houston, Hearst and Euclid, which is called North Gate. It's the North Gate of UC Berkeley. And I had to cross across to go to my class around the corner at GTU, Graduate Theological. And it was a red light, and I'm standing there. Like that. And the light turns green, and I'm going across the intersection, and this woman comes up to me and stops right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, and I got 60 seconds before the light changes. So she says, I just wanted to say that thank you so much for what you do like this every day, reminding us of what's really important. And she steps around me and goes across, and I'm like, you're welcome. So it's like across the lake, go up to campus. And so some people were watching, here comes the monk. Don't bother him, he's reciting, So what do you do to keep your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind unsticky? So that I had to keep my wits around me because I didn't want to trip over tables on Sproul Plaza, and I didn't want to, go walk into traffic against the light. So you're still functioning, but your senses are not sticking to what it comes and it goes. And the nice lady says, thank you for reciting, okay, you're welcome. Meanwhile, I got to get to class. So when I arrived, I knew it was working when I got to my classroom at GTU, and I still had my energy. I hadn't been sucked out into the infinite number of things going on Sproul Plaza every second. So, okay. Towards all he is kind, he does no harm. That, don't even have to explain that, right? Here is the Shramana. When you leave home, here's His Holiness, who shall not be named, I know. What does he say? He says, I have no religion. My religion is kindness. You go, I'll take it. I'll take it. That's it. That's how he describes what it means to him to be a Buddhist, is simply doing no harm, being kind. And sometimes that's not easy to do. It's not easy to do. And kindness in this way doesn't mean you don't care. You stop caring. America, my country, 'tis of thee, is currently going through a crisis. There's fire burning in many cities today because of a lack of kindness that was there at the beginning of the United States of America. Slavery. Stealing people from their country, bringing them to another country and selling them as if they were not humans. And the repercussions of that have never, ever settled. The ripples of that lack of kindness are crashing on our shore. And I appreciated the mayor of New York not condemning the legitimate anger. Because why? Our former vice president, Joseph Biden, is very in tune to the pain of an episode in the history of the United States that is not healed. There is an open wound. That's what we're seeing right now. It's a wound. And it won't heal. It's lack of kindness. And if you are that cruel to other human beings, you make a big ripple of karma that has to, the way ripples do, they gradually subside. Well, that one has not, because we have not healed it. The lack of kindness is the cause of what is being shown now. He does no harm. How do you measure harm or no harm? Simply turn it around. Would I like to be treated that way? If so, it is, unless I'm perverse, unless I'm twisted and enjoy being harmed, then things that I don't want to happen to me, I don't do to others. The golden rule is hard to beat, right? Affirmed by every culture in the world, the golden rule: do not do to others what you don't want to happen to yourself. Do to others what you yourself would like. Clear, right? Clear. So, not elated by joy, not troubled by distress. Look at that. 娱乐不亲，风苦不欺. It's so, it goes down, they say, it goes down good, right? It's easy to say. Not elated by joy, not troubled by distress. What is that? That is called 平等. 平等心. Equanimity. 能舍, right? Able to let go. So happiness comes, you're not elated, you're not overjoyed. It's not that you don't know happiness. You don't deny happiness. You don't run from happiness. But at the same time, you're not upset by trouble. You don't seek suffering. Like if you're going to have work done on your teeth, you allow the anesthetic. You try the nitrous oxide. I have monk friends who pride themselves in never using anesthesia. So take the laughing gas. You don't seek pain, but when pain comes, you're not knocked off your feet. When joy comes, you're not knocked off your feet. When joy goes, you're not knocked off your feet. That's the Shramana. The last two lines, or the last four characters, I really like. Patient as the earth, he can take what comes. Okay, the reason why I wanted to talk about this verse, mind you, we're only on the third finding the subtle knowledge, right? This is leaving home. The reason I like this is the words are so simple, but the stories they contain are healing stories. Patient as the earth, nang ren ru di, right? Able to endure like the earth. What is the earth? The earth is, unfortunately at the moment, a little impatient with us. We've seen the limits of the earth's patience. Oh my God. Yeah, the forest fires last summer in Australia were an example of the earth's impatience, but only from the point of view of the humans, right? For the earth, it was totally natural to burn, given the conditions. From the human's point of view, from the animal's point of view, the animals are not to blame. They suffered. But the earth seems to be running out of patience for us because situations are arising that are taking humans away. We're not doing well. When 100,000 of us die in a number of days. One of the shocking things about the coronavirus and COVID-19 is how fast. In December, we didn't know the name. The name COVID-19 hadn't been invented in December. They invented the name by saying coronavirus epidemic, number 19, right? So, how quickly the earth has said, you humans gotta go. Patient as the earth. This Shramana can take what comes. For this reason, type in a reason. For this, R-E-A-S-O-N. He or she is called the Shramanerika. I did the female, the feminine here. For this reason, she is called a Shramanerika, a female novice seeking the ashram. Actually, it should be for these reasons would be better. For these reasons, yeah. For these reasons, she is called a Shramanerika. She must set aside caring and love to leave home and cultivate the way. She subdues her senses, untouched by desires. Towards all, she is kind, she does no harm. Not elated by joy, not troubled by distress. Patient as the earth, she can take what comes. For these reasons, she is called a Shramanerika. 舍离恩爱出家修道，摄御诸根，不染外欲，慈心一切，无所伤害，娱乐不心，风苦不欺，能忍如地，故号沙门. From the Agamas. What a great verse, right? Simple, basic, but what it contains. So anyway, I wanted to share that with everybody because it's, when we say leaving the householder's life, I don't think it's ever really been easy. There's always a sense of something breaking. The bonds of the immediate birth family. Moms have to see their son, shave his head or see her daughter put on a robe that she's not going to take off. She's not going to be fashionable at all. The dads have to acknowledge that maybe from this child there's not going to be another generation, right? There's not going to be the name will not continue if through this son, or this daughter. That's not easy. That's hard to do. It's always been so. But as my mom got to the place, this was quite a victory. When I left home, my mother was strongly opposed to my leaving home. She did not want me to leave home. She had never heard of a monk. Nobody knew any monks. We didn't have monks. We were Methodists. Catholics had monks. Jewish families have no monks. No monks, no Jewish monks. No such thing. So she didn't know what that was. I was supposed to be something else. I was supposed to be a senator or a mayor or an author or a newscaster or something in the public eye. That was how I was raised. It would have been good. My brother was a soldier, successful soldier, taught French at West Point, worked in the Pentagon, worked at NATO. My brother Steve's accomplishments were satisfactory for what the expectations were, right? A monk? What? And further, when I left home and then stopped talking to her, my mother said it was a dark night. It was really hard for her because who could explain what this was about? What happened to her son? And so her friends, my mother's friends, would go, oh, poor Debbie. Chris I don't know, he went to Berkeley and everything went wrong, That's Berkeley, that's what happens, People's Republic of Berkeley. You might as well step off the planet. It's just, we knew something was going to happen when we heard he went to Berkeley. From the point of view of Toledo, Berkeley was, the far left coast. So, okay, well, 3 steps one bow came to an end. My period of silence came to an end. I started to call her regularly. She came out to the city of 10,000 Buddhas, met the abbot, really liked Master Shenhua, to her amazement. She said that after meeting him, she said, I understand why you would follow him. He has wisdom. And this word was like, she never used that word before. Wisdom. She saw immediately. And Master Hua said to me later, he said, your mother has deeper good roots with me than you do, even. Oh, no, I didn't know that, sure, but no, I didn't know. So, okay. So, she comes out to the city of 10,000 Buddhas to pass her 50th birthday, a special invitation by Master Shenhua. She speaks Dharma for the monks and nuns. He gives her 3 Buddha images that she takes home and puts on the mantle, on the altar over the mantle over the fireplace. For a Methodist churchwoman, not bad, right? So, when I say what was satisfying was to call her. I started calling every week, and talking to my mother. And she said, Hung Shi, she said, my friend Meredith, her son has, he's got some problems. And he's went bankrupt, had a bankruptcy, and actually tried to take his own life. And Meredith called me and she said, Debbie, would you mind asking Hung Shi for his opinion? And she said, I kind of like having a son who's a monk now. It's nice to be asked for the second opinion from a monk. So she said, I guess I'm seeing things a little differently these days, something like, right on, Mom, right? So you set aside the care and the love, but it doesn't go away, it transforms. And she lost a son, but she gained a monk. And the monk, long distance, I filled a new role in the community that she didn't know could be, which is kind of the religious advisor, the spiritual, the spiritual advisor for the neighborhood, my mother's friends. So now Debbie had a monk in the family. Oh, that's good. Now, that was already, 20 years ago. Now with mindfulness, mindfulness is such a new unexpected addition to our lives, especially during sheltering in place, COVID-19 quarantining. Mindfulness is something that people are seriously looking at as an option for let's say this, the surprise pandemic has done more to pull back the curtain on the play of life than almost anything we can imagine. So suddenly, we found ourselves inside 4 walls, however many rooms we had in our house, and maybe our yard, our garden. And what are you going to do with all that time? How many movies can you watch? How many meals can you have before you say, what else is there? Is this all there is? What can does anyone have any answers to what's really going on here? So, we're not grateful to nature for giving us this pandemic, but we can say there's a way to cope with it that says, I'm going to find the silver lining in the pressure and stress of coping with a fatal disease. Breathing air can be fatal to us now if that air contains COVID-19 virus. I'm grateful to the disease for moving me inside my own life, where I want to take charge of what's going on. My reaction to the fear, the terror of this disease, I want to investigate it and see if maybe I can learn some wisdom, some compassion, some kung fu, some spiritual skill that will help me deal with this reality of illness in a more skillful way, whether that's possible. Our Bodhisattva says, yes, there is fine and subtle wisdom concerning the 8 hallmarks of leaving the householder's life, translated into the Avatamsaka's version. This is not the actual 8 hallmarks of leaving home, of accomplishing the Tao, but they're similar, right? They're hallmarks along the path. So, those of you who are actually interested in cultivation in the Dharma, you can, what would it be if somebody said to you, you know, what was the moment? What was the catalyst? What was the button that gave you the courage to look within, to say to yourself, I know there's more. This is not all there is. Pull back the curtain, the wizard is there pulling the levers somewhere. What's the wizard? What's the curtain? What's the play on the stage of my life that if I just go walk backstage, take a look, see what's really going on here. Be grateful to that catalyst, whatever it was, that started us looking at our lives in these terms. As we go, we're grateful for some of the signs of life in the midst of so much death and suffering. One of those signs is a verse that I received in my email from a young disciple who lives, I won't tell you where she lives, but she's a young woman, and she saw this picture, and the picture is a possum. This is a video. I didn't send it to Sam. I didn't send it. Here is Percy. This is Polly Possum, who is reaching for a grape, and her hind legs are on her mother's back, because Polly at this point in her life was still riding on mother's back. And she's got that terrific nose, right? She got her nose, you can see pointing here. She looks at the green grapes and is tasting grapes, maybe for the first time in her life, in her short life. I have another picture of Polly Possum's mother, Percy. Here she is. And you can see her nose here. She's eating cherry tomatoes. There they are, cherry tomatoes. So here is Polly Possum's mother, Percy. And you can see her nose. So what did I get? I got this wonderful verse from the poet, and I'll just mention her name is Emily. That's all we're going to know about Emily. She is a poet, and she wrote, let me grab it out of my, okay, Polly Possum, poem by Emily, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to grab it. I thought I had it, but I didn't. Okay, there it is. We're going to put it here under the left home verse. The verse goes like this. It goes, make it nice and pretty here. Possums are awesome. Is it night already? That means it's bedtime. I better get ready. A tiny hand appears from the corners of my eyes, right on the porch, and then, surprise. Pay attention to the first letters of these next lines. Pure adorableness, ongoing adventurer, super cute eyes, saccharine, ultra nose, magnificent. What does that spell? and awesome possum. Pure, ongoing, super saccharine, ultra magnificent possum, P-O-S-S-U-M. Pure adorableness, ongoing adventurer, super cute eyes, saccharine. I don't know how the saccharine got in there. Ultra nose, I like that. The ultra nose, magnificent. Here is Percy Possum's ultra nose. How magnificent she is. Isn't that great? So thank you, Emily the poet, for our ode to the awesome possum. Here we are. So we know we're alive when the poems keep rolling in. It's great. Okay, in the last minutes of our lecture today, I wanted to share some other news, which is Janice Ian. Bless her heart. People know Janice Ian. She is a singer-songwriter of great fame, great repute, who in the 70s came from New York, wrote some songs that made it to #1 for years. She held #1 record for Japan for almost a year. And it was a Society's Child and also At 17, some of the songs that she wrote. She's done, I think, 18 albums over the years and has become one of the real the older generation of successful singer-songwriters. And Janice has gifted us recently with, I'm going to put into the chat, maybe, Jerry, if you wouldn't mind passing that on. Janice was affected deeply by the death of John Prine, another beloved elder of the singer-songwriter upper echelon of legendary musicians in America. John was also her neighbor in Nashville, if I'm not mistaken. And after he died, Janice was doing laundry one day, and a song came to her. And she's, as a songwriter, she's tuned in to when the muse arrives. She wrote down these words, and then took out an aging, venerable cell phone and recorded the song called Better Times Will Come. And this was, John Prine died of COVID-19 related illness, and so this all happened recently. Janice took the lyrics and the melody and released it to anyone who wants to do their own version, to sing the song, record it, send it to her, and she will put it out on her YouTube channel. So people have done that. There are now dozens and dozens of versions of Better Times Will Come. Well, my buddy, Steve Boffman, my co-teacher, whom I respect deeply, said, hey, Hung Sure, translate it into Chinese and send it to Janice. You can do it. So I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So I did a rough edition. Cliff polished it for me, and we recorded it on my side porch, and this is it. It's out there on YouTube now, and I would be grateful if folks would give it a listen, give it a like, give it a, click a like or leave a comment. We appreciate the comments. It sounds like this. In Chinese. So that's it. Now, there are Japanese versions. I haven't seen any French yet, but they're popping up every day. And as I mentioned here in the links below on YouTube, if people would like to do it yourself, she welcomes people dancing. Better Times Will Come, doing it as an art project, but sending the song around. There is a link. So go to the JaniceIanStore.com, Better Times Project, and you can do your own version. Whatever language you can translate it into, Better Times Will Come. It's a great song. So I've got it right here, and I would like everybody to know it at least, whether or not you sing it yourself. I'm going to give you a chance to join me here. Better times will come when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come when we greet each dawn without fear, knowing loved ones soon will be near, when the winds of war cannot blow anymore. Oh, better times will come. Though we live each day as our last, we know someday soon it will pass. We will dance, we will sing in that never-ending spring. Oh, better times will come. The song is even more poignant given what's going on in America right now. But join me here. I think this song is kind of like a prayer. You can do it like a prayer instead of a boppy dum da da dum da da dum. It has the power of healing in times when times are not better, right? So here we go. Better times will come, better times will come when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come. How about the Chinese? 明天会更好，明天会更好，世界和谐新大同，明天一定会更好。When we greet each dawn without fear, knowing loved ones soon will be near. When the winds of war cannot blow anymore, oh, better times will come. Better times will come, better times will come when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come. Though we live each day as our last, we know someday soon it will pass. We will dance, we will sing in that never-ending spring. Oh, better times will come. Chinese. 明天会更好，明天会更好，世界和谐新大同，明天一定会更好。Better times will come, better times will come when this world learns to live as one. Oh, better times will come. So what makes it kind of surreal is you think you can't social distance during a protest rally. 1,000 people gathered around the precinct house, sitting down. The quarantine, just before our lecture today in Minneapolis, the quarantine came. It was 8 o'clock. Everybody sat down. They refused to disperse. So what's going to happen? COVID-19, it's going to happen. The virus is going to happily dance through the police and the demonstrators. Oh boy, oh boy. When this world learns to live as one, oh, better times will come. Thank you, Janice Ian, for giving us that song. Here's our Medicine Buddha mantra. Join me. Om Namo Bhagavate Bhaisaja Guru Aidurya Pravarajaya Pathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Pajata Om Bhaisaje Bhaisaje Mahabhaisaja Samudgate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Bhaisaja Guru Aidurya Pravarajaya Pathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Om Bhaisaje Bhaisaje Mahabhaisaja Samudgate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Bhaisaja Guru Aidurya Pravarajaya Pathagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Bhajata Om. Last chance, here we go. Bhaisaje Bhaisaje Mahabhaisaja Samudgate Swaha Om. That song's got some legs. That mantra. Singing in Sanskrit, who knew, right? But that was a possibility. Thank you to Fabrizio for bringing that one into being. Okay, time. Let's see here. I want to ask Jin Chuan Shi, Jin Wei Shi, Jin Ho Shi, Jin Fo Shi. Do you have any announcements or comments to make, things that we should know between now and next week?
Hi, Dharma Master. This is Jin He.
Hi, Jin Ho Shi.
Just wanted to announce that the Medicine Master Buddha classes will begin again tomorrow at 5 p.m. California time.
Great. Okay, 5 p.m. California time. Anybody wants to, and that's in English, right, Jin Ho Shi?
Yes, it is.
In English, okay. So anybody here in Australia who might want to tune in, 5 p.m. in Berkeley is 10 a.m. 10 a.m. in the Gold Coast, and you go to berkeleymonastery.org and find the link to our BBM online practices and scroll down till you get to the sutras, and there is Medicine Master Sutra with Jin Ho Shi doing the lecturing. Great, okay, thank you for that. Anybody else got a comment or announcements coming up? Same schedule, okay. So I would direct everybody to the berkeleymonastery.org, BBM online, if you're interested in...
I can maybe say one thing, actually.
Yes.
Marty's classes, although we're starting the summer schedule now, Professor Verhoeven's Friday night classes will continue unless otherwise announced. So he's going to try to continue to teach his class if he's in the area.
Great. Okay, so that's the Avatamsaka Sutra Friday night in California, Saturday mid-afternoon here in Australia. Everybody is so, one of the reasons that the protests are so kind of shockingly widespread is what we have been doing for the last 2 months minimum, which is staying home. So all of this pent-up energy is finding a focus now with the reality of systemic racism, and people have had enough of that. So I did it again. Do you know what I did? Here's the story. This is interesting. My new computer, I'm on my new laptop, and it has I meant to disable it. It has a touch ID. And I reached up and I touched it, and Zoom died. That's so strange, to learn how not to touch my keyboard. Sorry about that. Okay, I was saying, coronavirus, COVID-19, is starting to appear in Mendocino County. That's right. The end of May, beginning of June. Mendocino County has been among the counties of California very successful in keeping infections down, and because of the reopening of California, cases are now popping up. So, and California has been one of the most, we quarantined earliest in the US. But my point is in saying that the virus has not gone away. And if people can bear to, if you're in a situation where you can, it's good to be really cautious about going outside. Nothing has changed. Wear a mask and wash your hands, because the virus is right there. It didn't go away. In some cases, it's peaking, right? So all of this talk about the second wave and all happening in autumn is, again, it's the result of people passing it to each other. So community transmission is starting to happen. It's not over by any means at all. And it's just that we couldn't stand to be behind the door. We're social beings, and that's reality. So if at all possible, especially if you have elders, if you can be mindful that until there's an actual vaccine, the virus is deadly. So don't let our guard down. All right, transfer the merit, make a wish. As one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. I'd be happy to lead anybody who wants to join me in 3 bows to the Buddhas. And then 3 bows to our teacher if you're willing to join me. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. See you all next week for more of the Bodhisattva's fine and subtle wisdom and knowledge. Om Mito Fu. Bye-bye.